Y'all remind me, I got
But
to
that was on
actually
purpose,
move
though.
closer
Like,
to the.
I knew I wasn't gonna be able to do more than that.
Remind me, I got to move closer to the edge of that seat over there.
Yeah.
I need to be sitting where my water bottle is, pretty much.
I thought you were gonna move the water bottle and scoot in, but I stopped.
I
looking
moved
at
the
you.
water bottle and then leaned out.
Also, we could talk about parenting and this gentle parenting, permissive parenting. I don't know all the different labels that they have.
And then they got the, we grew up with the spare the rod, spoil the child, so now it's different
And I feel
now.
like we're like, we went away from that, but we're in between. Cause
Yeah, I
it's
think
still,
we
Right.
still even something in discipline, but
I
maybe
believe in
not
disciplining other people's kids. So, listen, these kids be out here wild.
except for Nadia. Whew, she's a.
All right, so
But
let
see, and that
me.
goes into the old parents.
Yeah,
because then they don't
right.
care at all.
I feel like
Do we need a guest speaker here, Micaiah? Talk about that.
No, she definitely be the oldest daughter. So.
All right, so I'm gonna start
up
up, and like I said, we can always edit. So just whenever James starts his,
We
edit from there.
start fresh
Yeah, we
because he
started
wasn't
from
in there.
scratch. Started from scratch.
He says
I don't remember what I said.
I won't remember what I said no way. So we're gonna do this for real, or we gonna do another take?
Yeah, go, Micaiah.
Let's do it for
make
real.
sure you
Let's
in
do
there.
it for real.
Yeah, let's do it for real.
Wait, don't start it. I'm gonna make sure you're in the camera.
All right, everybody, be loose, have fun.
Oh, here's another bead that I drew.
Yeah, it was rolling off the
No,
table.
I'm
man.
not shaking my feet like.
Oh, the beads are coming off for you. I thought Mel was dripping beads.
It rolled off the
yours
table.
dripping
You need
beads.
Mel to fix it for me, but
Okay.
That's good. In a little bit.
more. I might as well sit on the sofa with Mel at this point.
You're scooting forward. Are
Is
you
he
getting?
too
Are you
close?
can't?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay,
can't.
okay.
If you lean back, you're gonna be cut out.
That's what I mean.
Really? Still?
Yeah, lean in.
What if I come back here?
Yeah, that's good.
Can he lean out?
Okay.
Can he rock?
Then like if I go like this, am I good?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just
Okay,
need to
yeah.
be.
Don't lean out.
Let me just.
But you still said don't lean the other way
My
though.
leg
If
this
we have a topic for y'all, we just gonna switch places.
That's what I said. It's like we
We gonna know what the topic is.
Be nose to nose on this thing.
And we gonna be over here cracking up.
I looked at the Joe Budden when I was like, they got space in between and we all.
Did you see the one where Cameron went at Jim Jones and Mace over there eating popcorn? Give me some popcorn. Did we start? Are we live? I mean, are we
All right, so we're
recording?
gonna get the countdown, right?
We been recording. I gotta turn on
Okay.
Like I said, we can. You want to start at 15 and just.
Whatever you. I'm not looking at the time. Whatever you want.
I mean, I just.
You can control the time.
But then if it stops,
We can be at any. We can put it at any time you want. You know, an hour. We can. You know what I mean? Like 20 minutes, just to like where you wanna.
Whatever.
I mean, we can do it for more and then stop whenever we want. Or otherwise, you're gonna have to like put them together, right?
Well, that's the thing is like when we put them up on YouTube, they at all times.
This isn't a. This not stopping it, right?
No, because
This is just. This is. That's
Like,
just, yeah.
like,
Like, we've been going for the last 3 minutes in this recording,
So
so.
what do we need this for? Like, what do we
Just to
need?
let us know if we're talking about the topic. All right, we're at 15 minutes on this topic.
Like
We
what's
wanna
that
switch
show on
topics.
ES? It used to come on ESPN, whatever. Partner interruption.
Partner- yeah,
where they
yeah,
do
partner.
like segments.
Mhm, yes, exactly. And they had the timer right there, and somebody tell them, "Hey, man, that was y'all 30 seconds on this. That was your 3 minutes on this.
And then you
Go
just
to the
go.
next subject." So just so we know, all right, we've been 15 minutes on the same subject. We probably
Okay.
need to segue.
Okay.
All right, but we only
15
doing
is
one
good,
subject though, right?
Yeah, we are doing one.
Yeah,
subject.
today, yeah.
Different
Today,
parts,
yeah. Okay, so we'll say let's start with 20 minutes and see how we do.
Does the mic pick up? The
Yes.
other? It does.
Yes, indeed.
All right, somebody
Yes,
got it. Celia, go see who's running.
That's because y'all came down here to be nosy, and that's
okay, okay.
why. Oh, they wait for her to move, and they as soon as she move, they down the stairs. You can hear 'em. That's how I know when she doing something. Like, where you at? Oh, I had that. Okay, so, all right.
Let me not fidget.
I know. It's gonna be hard.
Ready to go? Okay. Welcome to the 6018. If you know, you know. Mel, Chet, Anna, James. Those are the names. So one thing we always heard a lot growing up, because we're preachers' kids, we're pastors' kids, second generation pastor kids, or third, however that works. One thing we always heard a lot of. Now, y'all are older than me, so I want to ask y'all this question about preachers' kids. Are preachers' kids the worst? Because that's always what I remember hearing growing up. I don't hear this much now. as I used to growing up. But always growing up, that was the thing. I didn't really get it a lot. Maybe I didn't fit into. Well, I want y'all's thoughts about that. Are preachers' kids the worst? If they are the worst, where does the saying come from? And if they are the worst, why are they the worst?
Okay, so yes, preachers' kids is a thing. People do say that there are differences between kids whose parents were pastors and preachers and everything like that. I still hear it a lot when I talk to people. They talk about the experiences that they had and how preachers' kids were wild and all of that. I think there is some truth to the stereotype, but it's not all the way across the board. And I think it also depends on the church setting. And I just recently realized that there's a difference between pastors' kids and preachers' kids, because pastors are supposed to be above everything. So then that would even put more pressure on you as the pastor's kid. So yeah, I mean, it's still, I don't know if it's still a thing now for modern churches, but it definitely was a thing when we were younger about the differences with the preachers' kids and acting wild and all of that.
I think that one of the biggest things, like, growing up that way is, like, all the guys I grew up with, I felt like we were all the same age, teenage boys, and even before that, it's like they would be in the streets, you know, they selling drugs, or, you know, they doing all this stuff, gang activity, fighting everything, and nobody said anything. And then as soon as Chet gets involved, oh, you know, Chet guy, you know what I mean? It's like, how would you be in a fight with the other guys? It's like we all grew up together, like, you know what I mean? Like, why am I treated different? But it's like, you know, why would Chet be involved with that? He's supposed to be the preacher's kid. And, you know, even thinking about the pastor's kids and the preacher's kid, it seemed like us, because we were second generation, we even got treated different than our first cousins.
Right.
They could be off the chain and nobody would say anything. It's like, they the pastor's kids too.
Yeah.
Why y'all treating it? No, because, you know, Rem Chet is y'all. So it's like, okay, so y'all got Pastor McDonald and Rem Chet. Y'all supposed to be ultra
Doubly.
good, you know? And I always felt like, you know, for me, that was one thing that bothered me is, like, you know, my best friend, we doing all the same stuff. He gets a pass every time. Me, I get punished every time, you know? And it's just one of those things that always confused me. And I think that just the standards were just because we were that, but I don't think as a young man or a young woman growing up, you should be judged based on that. But that's the way it felt growing up to me.
Right, and it was also sometimes too, your friends like, oh, you the preacher's kid, you blah blah blah, you can't do this, and you're like, I'm gonna show you, you know,
Right.
I'm the preacher, but I'm not a preacher, so that's another part of it too, just trying to kind of prove that, you know, just because my dad's a preacher doesn't mean I can't do such and such.
Right, I can get
But
down
I
with you.
think the view that you said was more internal, though, because the way, when I talk about it with people, they aren't saying that they expect us to be held to a higher standard. Their stereotype is they're just wild. They're not saying that you shouldn't
okay.
be.
Okay.
They're just saying, oh, this is the history of preachers' kids. They go out and do all the stuff because they can get away with it. One of the themes was they get disciplined less. Now we know that that's not what it is, but in the church, because I think preachers and everything, they're so busy. They're talking to other people. They typically ignore their children.
Okay, I never thought about that.
So when
That
people
view
talk
of it.
about it, that's the stereotype
Because it
they're-
wasn't us.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So
So I would say using that one, just you know, me and my best friend AD, you might hear his name come up a lot here with him anyway, but me and AD were best friends since we were 2 years old. Got to a certain point where AD family was different than our family. I remember used to get teased called the Cosbys because we had two parents in the household. So, you know, one thing that we would argue about, he'd be like, you don't understand, man, like your father at home. And I'd be like, but he beat me, bro. You can keep him, bro. Like, you know what I mean? What we talking about here? You talking about, you know, y'all feel different because our parents at home. That means that even though you see him in church and doing this and that, when he come home, he done dealt with y'all nonsense so much.
Exactly.
He take it out on us when he get home.
Yeah.
But y'all don't see that part of it. So when a lot of me acting out was like, I'm just trying to be one of y'all. And y'all understand, when I finish being one of y'all, I'm going to go in the house and get beat.
that was a really, really big thing because I used to think about this all the time. So I would just think about how my dad is a minister, very popular one,
Right.
a youth minister. So all the kids around loved him. It's just this huge. Oh, he's famous. He was famous.
Yeah, true.
And so my thought was always, he has to be out here on all the time. So coming home, there was nothing left.
Yeah.
There was no let's
Which is
be
true.
happy. Let's
What they
be-
call him? They didn't even call him. What they used to call him? They had a name for him. Whatever. Like they don't even you see him. They all just call him Chet. Hey, how Chet doing? It was never that respect thing where it was like minister, pastor. That you know what I mean. Until later on, but when we were younger at
I can't
Maples,
remember.
you know, they just called him. You know, like Charlie's friends and all them come over the house, eat up all our tuna fish, and you know what I mean. He having kids nights, and we the kids locked in the room. Like you not even having kids night with your kids. But all these other people grew up with that, you know, and I think that. At a certain point, it gets to you, but nobody else sees it.
And I think that the thing I think of when you talk about the expectation point of view, this is kind of a new thought. I never heard that point that you mentioned. I always looked at it like I get it from the expectation point of view. That so I guess there are different ways to look at it. Like, well, aren't you guys supposed to be this? Because you got to think in the black church, the preacher, the pastor is revered as the anointed one. So if this guy's don't put your mouth on guys and whatever the silly thing people say. So it's like if that's how they feel, then they think this person is special. So aren't the kids also supposed to be special? And it doesn't make sense, but it's like that's how I looked at it, like that expectation.
No, it's really not, because a lot of the times, and I don't know if I just noticed because I was old. I'm very quiet. I observed a whole lot of stuff. I didn't do a lot of the running around and all of that stuff. So I observed, especially when we went to other churches. But the one of the major things was they didn't really. It was a lot of jealousy about the preacher's kids, especially if the preacher was popular or they really liked them. They felt like, just like you were saying, oh, you have both parents in the house. It's, oh, well, their dad's so great and all that stuff. They probably think they're great too. They probably
okay.
so the preacher's kids are looked at as stuck up. They're,
That makes sense.
You know, and they can get away with whatever they want to because they running around the church and they're doing all this. You see this person doing this. So I saw a lot of the negative sides of it, I guess, is what.
So is it true?
I think that for certain pastors' kids, it is.
Yeah.
They're very snobby. I just don't feel
But
we
like
with
you
those
said,
kids.
not across the board.
Right.
Like, it's
yeah.
not a rule.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
yes, as preachers get
It's ain't
past kids.
right, yeah.
It's like it's nothing that
But the
happens.
percentage is probably why people
And
say
and that may be true. Like for me, I always want to be. I mean, it's one of those things like with people that are, from good homes, and then they end up like we always talk about like. With me and hip hop, Jadakiss broke my heart. I'm like, you got a good family, ODB. Y'all got a good family at home.
Yeah.
Because it's like, but what they said is that they wanted to fit in with. They just
Right,
wanted to be one of the
exactly.
guys.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's kind of the way I feel. I just want to be one of y'all. Why y'all treat me
Yeah.
different? Like,
And there's probably a
why
lot of
you stuck up?
internal things going on,
Oh,
which
yeah.
cause you to act out. Because the other part of it is that everybody think that they can tell you what to do,
Oh,
and then they,
yeah.
oh,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna go tell your dad, because your dad won't want you to do this type of
You
thing.
don't like me at all, do you?
Because they didn't.
And we had personal experience.
I was
with
just about to
like,
say that. And me, as good of a kid as I was in school, I remember the first time a teacher said that to me. He was a substitute teacher, but he was also a preacher, so he knew Dad. And I'm not even really doing anything. I'm just with friends who are
I
doing
got that
things.
too.
And his thing is, well, your dad coming to, and we were going to visit the church he preached at. Your dad coming to my church. I'm not even doing anything. I'm just with these people who are doing stuff, and yeah, that just brought up that memory. But it's like
Yep.
I'm
They
not
see
even
me, I
doing
be like,
anything.
"Tell 'em."
Right.
Right. They be crying all the way home.
I would never say that, but that did remind me of an instance in middle school. I got in-school suspension. Now, the thing with in-school suspension, you in school, don't nobody know.
This one.
The lady
got
going...
suspended in my class.
Right? See what I'm saying? So, the lady is like, oh, man, your father and I, we go way back. And matter of fact, he preached our church last Sunday. I said, okay, but this between... I'm writing all my definitions out the dictionary. And when I came home, Daddy's like, what happened in school? I went to school and, did my work. So you ain't meet nobody interesting? Nah. Because somebody told me that you was in a class today, a special class.
Special class.
Now y'all know only time that Daddy folded clothes.
Oh, man.
Why you folding clothes right now? What's going on? But yeah, just because it's like I can tell your dad,
Yeah, I didn't even
whatever
think about
about
that
you.
either. But I mean, yeah, people will use that as what? Well, people who were in positions of authority
Right.
or wanted to be in a higher position, they feel like if they tell, I don't actually know what their point was for doing that though. Like, what would they get out of disciplining somebody else's child? I mean, I guess.
That's a good question. I definitely don't understand.
And I don't feel like mom and daddy ever went out their way to discipline anybody else's children, try to keep them in line. So why do y'all want to go back and tell them that? I can't remember a time daddy didn't just understand. Like, even now, my friends like, your dad is like our dad. I'm like, man, it's crazy that y'all have such a great relationship with this person y'all thought he was versus me going home to him every day. But it's like, oh man, he ain't judgmental, he don't be this and that. And I'm like, so why would y'all's parents turn around and want to get me in trouble?
But that also goes to the whole, what I was saying, because it would just be like, they think that they're so good, let me get them in trouble. Let me see if they get in trouble for something like that. I mean, I actually did know of some instances like that.
And it is great. It makes me think of another one. There was a lady, so when Dad finally did start the church and we were at Francis Scott Key, and there was a lady, and whatever her name was, and so this lady, she was real huggy, too much hug. And so, she would always hug me though. So this lady for a year didn't say anything to me. Now she told me this. I didn't know because I'm a kid. I don't care. That's just my personality. Anyway, I don't really care. But this lady for a year didn't speak to me. So at the end of a year, according to her, she calls me over and I'm like, okay, the hugs are back. It is what it is. So she calls me back. And real close. Breath was never good. You know what I mean? So
I know who you talking about.
Yeah, you probably know what I'm talking about. But breath was never good. So she gets me in real close, and young man, for a whole year, you didn't speak to me.
Oh my God.
Now you should know. Yeah, it went through this whole thing. How I'm wrong. You're an adult who purposely didn't speak to me for a year.
Yep.
But I was 9 when the church started. I may be 10.
Right.
I was gonna
And
say
you're
that too.
chastising me because you didn't speak to me
on the
for
calendar.
it.
Right.
Track it on the calendar.
Let me go sit him down now.
And I remember one time I wasn't necessarily going to go up to her, but she tunnel vision as I'm walking that way, expecting her to say hi. She tunnel vision the whole time, so I wouldn't talk to her because the year wasn't up yet. She purposely tunnel vision,
That's
so I wouldn't talk to her just so she could. It's probably like 287 days. She like, nah, it's not yet. And it's just stuff like that where why me? And growing up, I was he gonna be the next one. He gonna be the next. So I had that to carry because I wasn't doing anything else.
Right.
I sat in the front. You know what I mean? I like I said, I wasn't doing street or anything like that. So because of that, you're going to be a preacher. Why?
Right, yeah. But then also in Sunday school, they expect us to answer every question, or they want us to really engage. And then if you don't,
draw your sword. How you not the first one every time? How you not respond?
I was a Sunday school teacher, which I enjoyed doing, but then it would be like the expectations get higher. I was president of the teen choir. I was a Sunday school teacher when we went to the new church. I mean, so it was just like the expectations. And me, I'm oblivious to all of this. I don't pay attention to any. Like I said, I was in my own world. But it would just, when people would come up to me and treat me a certain way or say something, I would be confused. Like, why are you? I'm a person. Like, I'm just normal.
Right.
I feel normal. But it was all these expectations. Also because basically our family was celebrities, I guess, in the church. It was always that too. They want to be my friends and they want to be in my face and they want the ends. I don't know what they were looking for, but they want to be, they want to know, like they want to be in the inner circle.
Because for people who don't know, we didn't have a rich pastor dad.
Right, not
so
a
some
church.
Exactly. So I know some preachers' kids are rich kids. Mm-hmm. It's not us, and it obviously wasn't us. I mean, it's not like anybody was confused that dad was making money like that. No, he wasn't making money like that.
But
so
that's only from the people that were at church with us. When I talk to people outside of there, I had people make comments about pastors and stuff like that. Guys I would know outside of that and be like, oh yeah, you know how them pastors are.
Mm-hmm. And that's
tell me because I ain't living for $1 dollar. Like
that's what where the negativity comes from too. Because being in the church, there are a lot of things. So I used to go around with Joyce for the gospel concerts and stuff. I used to go with her all the time. The behind the scenes of church activities and gospel, and then when I was a teenager and visiting other churches and stuff like that, what those kids do in basements of other churches and all this other
hold on. Well, let's go to that. Let's go to that. Let's tell everybody what it's actually like. because they think they know, or maybe they think they know what it's like being a preacher's kid. So we touched on a little bit. What is it really like? What did we really see? What was the real experience? And I would say we didn't have, that was not the worst of, as far as preachers go and stuff like that, and how we treat stuff like that. It gets crazy. So what is the reality that we can say that we've seen, like I said, in 2 churches being, this level, if that's what people think? What is the actual experience? And we kind of have different points of view, because I actually made it into ministry. So I've seen another behind the scenes thing. Y'all have seen stuff.
I pulled away from being,
and I was very green, for those who don't know. I was oblivious to scandal and stuff like that.
I'll save mine for last, because
for me, the experience was, I don't like being the center of attention. I never was. I'm the oldest, and Chet came right after me. So I was not the oldest. I wasn't the only for very long. I wasn't. And then we had a pretty big family with a lot of kids and all of that. So we kind of entertained. The kids entertained each other. So I did not want to be seen. But I couldn't avoid that. So being the oldest, them talking about me a lot when I was coming up, and people feeling like they had some kind of right to me as like other ministers. So I have an example, a young minister that was in the church, always wanted to say something to me, but we're not too far apart in age, but then he would try to exert some kind of authority over me as being a minister. Of course, I'm not going to let that happen, and then, I'm going to go tell your dad, or this is going to be a problem, or this is. So I spent most of my time trying to stay out of the limelight. I also didn't run around. I didn't do the bad things. I didn't do any of that because I didn't want to get in trouble, but it didn't really make a difference. I would get in trouble anyway. I would be, it would still be a problem, and not only from my own parents, but other people telling me this is how you should act. This is what you should do. Moving to the second church, I kind of, as I got older, started backing away from it just because I started having more questions. So as a teenager and then learning things, I did my own studies, I did my own researches, and then that's when I learned asking questions of the preachers, of the ministers. They don't like that. And so then I basically withdrew after that. So my experience was, I didn't really see it as preacher's kid. Now I do, but back then it wasn't preacher's kid. It was just, I'm in the church and this is a weird experience. So I don't know how much that would be preacher. I guess it would still be preacher's kid because I was going to my dad about things like that. Yeah. So my experience was, I tried to stay out of view, but people don't let you do that. They still have whether or not I say anything or do anything, they still have expectations, and I'm still not living up to them. which is weird. That's just crazy.
Yeah, I would definitely say the experience for me now, Granddad's church, I have almost no memory of. So I was 9 when Dad started his church, so I remember being there. Just a little stuff. I remember I like Granddad's office.
Right. Yeah.
And what type of candy?
Candy.
He had
everything. Chocolate.
I know I ain't like no coconut.
Caramel with this.
I know he had a sword on the wall.
He had
a sword on the wall.
7 swords on the wall.
Yeah, 7 swords on the wall. So I remember stuff like that. But outside of that, I don't remember too much about it. I think a lot of stuff that what people don't know is we get to see. To me, I look at it as a good and a bad thing. Spiritually, it can be a good thing because we got to see how fake people are. And I think that's what people don't, that's the part they don't realize is that, you guys, if anybody was, you guys must be super holy and whatever. It's like, bro, we see who these people really are.
Yeah.
That guy who was so nice and who was so this and who would give you the shirt off his back, it's like, okay, he took that shirt off of my back. You know what I mean?
The fights that happened in the church. The people
all that
didn't
stuff.
like each other in church.
The people who, surprise, that's his kid. That's what I mean? And it's like all the stuff, you're privy to that information.
Right.
You see all that stuff, you know all that stuff, but you're supposed to have a responsibility to bear all that stuff.
Right. Yep.
And keep it quiet.
Yep.
The worst part is, what does this do for that kid's thought process toward God?
Exactly.
Because you put the blame on God so often. That's the hugest downside to me, is when people blame God, you know what I mean, for the nonsense they saw. But we see the reality of these people.
Yeah.
We see that these
Especially
people.
if they are the pastor, if they are the preacher,
Exactly.
and this is where it's coming from. Okay, so now I'm believing in God because of you, because this is you're teaching me this. But then
Right.
I turn around and see you doing this, and I think that a lot of times because they cannot actually go to the pastor about it, or they don't feel comfortable, or they're intimidated. It drops down on the kids because okay, well I can say something to you because you're not as high up as this person. So now we're going to take this out on you. So I can't go to him, but I'm going to come to you and say, you need to be acting a certain way. You don't need to do this. It's transferred. It's transferred to somebody who doesn't even.
And I think that's a lot of why you have people who say they grew up in the church or preachers' kids, pastor kids who move away from it. And yeah, unfortunately, they move away from God too at the same time. But depending on how your personality is, when you see stuff like that, it is something that just turns you off from the whole
Oh,
experience,
definitely.
because you're
Yeah.
looking at these people, you see them up in the pulpit, and you see how they're acting, and then not 5 minutes after church service, 10 minutes
Right,
after church
right.
service,
Yep.
you see all this other kind of stuff. It's like, what in the world? And then you think to yourself, this can't be real then. Okay, if
Right.
you're up here, you're crying or hooping and hollering or catching the Holy
Exactly,
Spirit,
exactly.
and then 10 minutes later, now it's gone.
And we
And you
saw that
cussed
in great
everybody out.
and we saw that in great detail. We saw that absolutely
Yep.
in great
Yep.
detail.
That's one thing that I told Daddy at one point that you know I didn't want to get up and perform anymore in front of the church, and he asked me why. I'm like, because when I'm out partying Saturday night, I don't want to come in and be fake Sunday morning. You know, and he was like, well, it's still a testimony. I'm like, nah, bro, I just don't believe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bro, I still smell like I just left the club 2 hours ago.
Right.
I don't want to
Truth
do
be told,
this.
though, musicians get a pass for that because the stereotype of musicians that are all those are even worse than the preacher's kids. So that's a whole separate thing.
But
But
it always and that kind of affected me because I would see the musicians and stuff when you know had this whole camaraderie as a musician. It's like, okay, we all hanging out together. I know what y'all are doing because we all together.
Yeah.
And the next morning in church, I feel bad, and y'all don't even care.
Right.
And you know, I think it hit a head for me when I noticed one of the musicians. We were out the night before, and everybody's in there the next day, and they couldn't even perform without reading it off the phone. If you had been practicing that choir rehearsal instead of getting ready for the club night, they literally got their phone like this, singing the hymns out the phone. And for me, that was it. I was like, this just ain't right, because everybody in the congregation is watching this, and this is why a lot of people moved away from the church, because hey, they was at the club Saturday night too. They came here, you know, to kind of, I guess, cleanse themselves, and they see, hey, hold up, we was just partying at the bar together last night.
and it's
you in the
kinda
church
intertwined,
representing, it's just
they mix that with the preacher's kids. They kind of see them as the same thing. So it would be the same thing if you see me at church because we go to the same church, and then but Saturday night you saw me out at the club or drinking or something like that.
And if you went to Maples or Gospel Bible, you was gonna see me and my cousins and my uncle. And they even, you was gonna see us at the club. We was at the Go-Go. You was at the Junkyard Show. I was at the Junkyard Show. It's not like we gonna fake. In that case, yeah, it was all the pastor's kids. They was all together.
Everybody was there.
All of them were together. And matter of fact, he was there. That deacon over there was there. I mean, and that's how it was at least 12 of us that we were always together. We were always in trouble. Stuff was going on. And imagine everybody, they seen the fight at the club. And they at church Sunday morning. Y'all all in the
Meanwhile,
choir
you saw
stand.
me there because you were there, but
Right.
that
Don't matter though. I'm talking about you though. You up in the pulpit with
Right.
the pastor.
And that's the
Okay.
thought, though. That's the thought. You're up in the pulpit. Yeah, I was there because I need to be cleansed.
That's what I'm saying.
You supposed to be helping cleanse me, and we making eye contact like, you know what I mean? Just don't say nothing
okay.
about
So
what
then
happened.
being middle? What was your experience with between both of you? I know you said you go last. So what was your experience with?
I don't know if I have any backstories like that because I was just oblivious to everything. Everything
how I
was
feel.
kind of like rosy to me. You know,
That's how I feel.
like I do know as you got older and stuff, you see these differences in people and how they act. But I think I was always able to just know that these are humans, and I never put anybody up on that pedestal.
That's the plus.
Yeah,
In my
and so,
opinion,
and
that's
so
a plus.
I didn't feel like if I learned something, it was like, oh my goodness, but it wasn't God, what are you doing type of thing. It was
Right,
just like
yeah.
these are humans, not behind the scenes stuff as much as the difference that we had, the experience that we had with Daddy versus the experience that church people may had as far as if I need something, if I call you in a time of need, I'm getting fussed at.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm interrupting you, right?
Right.
Your blood daughter, but
Car
let
accident.
you be home,
All right.
Car-
sitting doing anything. Anybody from the church can call. Now you out the house.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't like. And then just people coming into our home, people that are on drugs, people that have issues, pedophiles.
I always think about that
and-
one situation. Always.
And you're not protecting us, but everybody's like that was the problem that I had. If you have this pedophile in your house, you're not home, I come in the house, I go to my room to protect myself and close the door, and then they tell you, oh, I didn't speak to them.
Yep.
You call me back out here to prance in front of this pedophile. You know what I mean? So stuff like that I didn't like, as far as the church is more important than your family at home.
You know, it was one thing, somebody said, actually it was Brian Mans, and I was just telling my daughter that this is like one of the most important things anybody ever told me. And like, she's 2 years older than me,
Right.
but it was when Ale was, about to be born, and he said to me, always remember that your family is your first ministry. And it was like, it blew me away. And it's like, I mean, to this day, it's like something that I never lost, because it's like no preacher told, nobody
Right,
who,
right.
because they don't necessarily, I can't put all of them there, but they don't necessarily live that, because you're supposed to make me look good.
Yep.
And to me, that's the biggest downside to this preacher's kid thing.
Yep.
You're supposed to make me look, I don't care what you're going through,
Right, right.
just don't make me look bad.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I always think of, and I don't know if this I always assume that, y'all got married the first time because, okay, you're pregnant, and dad's like, look, you making me look bad. You need to go ahead and marry this dude so it looks a little better. That was always my thought, because my thing is like, it's always, and that's the idea. You're supposed to make me look good, not because I really did a good job. Because there's some scripture about, you should know how to do that.
Yeah.
But it's not even about that, though. It just make it look like I know what I'm doing.
Right.
Right.
So come what may. That's why you're supposed to shut up. You're supposed to be quiet. That's why I'm making eye contact with you, because you know what you're supposed to be doing. That's what I'm doing it for. Just make me look good. And so that's the thing when Brian told me that. It always stuck with me. So always, even when I did flirt with being a preacher, which I could tell stories about the stuff I saw that made me say this has nothing to do with God. But it's like, that's why that always was so huge to me, because it's like I needed to hear that. You know what I mean? It was like really that thing that's like, yeah, that's the most important thing. Don't lose these kids.
Right.
You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
Chasing this thing that you think is of God, don't lose these kids. Strongest thing anybody ever said to me at that point. It was like absolutely what I needed to hear at that moment. And yeah,
Shout out to Brian.
shout out to Brian for talking when he wasn't supposed to. You know what I mean?
Speaking out of
Yeah.
turn. Good job, Brian.
Yeah, exactly, but it was huge. But yeah, I mean, as far as like the from the preacher side of it, the stuff. So I was like, and I was very oblivious when we were young. Mostly, I didn't care. James had his own world.
Yeah.
Always had my own world. I didn't care what nobody was doing. I didn't care what nobody thought. I'm doing my own thing. And so when I started preaching, now first off, I didn't even do it right, because I did what I want to do. So I was supposed to be ordained. You're supposed to go this whole process to be ordained.
Right, yeah.
So I told Dad and Granddad, I'm not doing it. So I said, I can talk. I said, I can talk and talk about it. I said, well, I'm not doing that. So they just wrote it off. I didn't do nothing. They just, because some of their preacher buddies together, and they all signed on it. And I'm ordained right now. You know what I mean? And it's like, just signed all off on it. And so I didn't see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff till I got there. I didn't care. And then it was like, whoa, so everybody's fake. And it was like you say, what it can do. I say, thankfully, it drove me out of the nonsense and into truth. That's how I feel about it. But yeah, it was just like, to me, it's like, okay, so in the back room, so this is what everybody think preachers do. Before you come out to preach, we all praying.
Yeah.
We praying, talking about God and things like that. No, we not. They might be making fun of you. They might be talking about her. They might be drinking. Who knows? I mean, and it's like, and I'm just sitting there, you know, so we gonna clasp hands or, you know, no, we ain't clasp my hands. It's not what we back here for. And it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, this is what I'm saying is I'm traveling with dad and granddad now because I'm the shoe
Right,
in.
yeah.
Pretty much because the 12 of y'all. And, you know, so there's no choice. James has to be the next preacher if we're going to keep this line going. So, you know, Timothy's in Florida, so he can't do it. So I'm everywhere with dad and granddad. We traveling with all these people. And I'm like, dude, it's just fake. And I'm like, this just ain't real. It's everything. This is a show.
It's a show. It's a
These
show.
preachers, they're just competing. They don't care what they don't care if you get it. I'm just trying to be better than him. You know, it's like I've
popular.
Yeah, I've been with preachers who are really watching themselves on TV, like, oh, next time I gotta. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
Performance.
So that's I mean my thing from that perspective, and this is a little after just preacher's kid, except I was kind of just shoehorned into it, but it's like all right, so everything's just fake. It's all just fake. But again, I mean, I knew it had nothing to do with God. So I think that was always the thing I felt the worst about, is the people who really think they represent God.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, man, what's wrong with God? Because for me, it was obvious. What do you mean? What does God have to do with this nonsense?
Yeah.
It has
Right.
nothing to do with God,
Yeah.
obviously. You know, in my
But that's
thing.
why a lot of people leave the church. That's why this whole term church hurt and all this stuff came
Right,
up,
yeah.
because
Church hurt.
they realized that they were real people and they did terrible people things, and now they don't know what to do because you were supposed to be better than us. You were
Exactly,
supposed to be, held to a higher standard, and now you're not, doing what you're
Just a
supposed to do.
regular person.
Yeah, you're just a regular person.
I think that for me, it's two levels of it. Because I started out with Granddaddy like being my idol. You know, that's the guy I looked up to, and like being military and everything, and like my whole life ended up going military because I'm looking at Granddaddy, and I always just looked up to him, thought like, the way he carried himself, the charisma, the men that follow him, and when it comes down to it, just being honest, Granddaddy the one that told me how to kill somebody when I was 12 years old. Granddaddy the one that used to tell me stories, and he'd be like, man, I'd cut his throat, but I ain't had my blade with me that day. And when I tell people that Granddaddy knew me and Mark was in the streets, so the thing is, he talked to us in that manner. So when I think about it, I'm like, when Granddaddy passed, and you look at the family after that, I started to question, like, look at what happened to all of the boys in the family. Because to us, he wasn't the pastor. He raising boys that want to be out in the streets. We ain't had to be. None of us had to be.
Right.
I mean, shoot, we were more in the hood than the other ones, but at the same time, he gave us that street stuff. So when everybody be like, Pastor McDonald, this and that, like one of the cousins wrote me and was like, well, the way you called, your grandfather a nigga, this and that. I'm like, because my grandfather said it to me. He used to tell me that. I can't speak for what Granddaddy did for everybody outside the church and everything. Granddaddy made sure I wasn't a punk, and when I was out in the streets, I knew how to take care of myself. We all got stories that somebody told us about Granddaddy. Every time he punched this guy in the face,
Exactly,
and the stories about his swords and
drag him
everything.
out the church.
Yeah, all types of crazy stories. But then when it comes down to it, when he passed away, everybody like, you need to, I'm like, he was that same guy. That all the stories y'all was telling. But now all of a sudden he passed away, and it's like, all right, this guy was perfect. He was a saint. And if you know Chester Allen McDonald Sr., he wasn't no saint. We all know that. And the thing is that kind of made me look at things like, man, they don't even care who the real person is.
Yeah, they
he
wanna know
may
that.
bring you a word and say something, but that's when the saying came from, the messenger, not the messenger. Because the messenger to me was somebody that was flawed, that passed down a bunch of bad stuff to the men in the family. Even when we talked about, when it comes to our relationships, marriages, and baby mamas, kids, all this stuff, whatever, it all trickled down from there. And then when it came to our own father, I felt like he also was a product of that trickled down to us, because Granddaddy had to be tough on him, so then he had to be tough on me. And I'm just like, the part I didn't get is like, what Mel was in church is what I was in school. I was the popular dude. I was the morning announcer. I had straight A's, one B in behavior.
Behavior.
And it's like I was always doing well in school. I was doing what I was supposed to do, and I'm still getting beat. And I don't understand, because I'm like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And then it was like a thing where, I got called a faggot because I ain't like girls. And I'm like, why is the men in this family this way? Like, I ain't into girls. I like basketball and this and that.
Right.
But it's a bad thing because I'm not sleeping with any women.
Right.
And all the guys my age in church talking about we at 8, 9 years old, talking about all the women they been with. I'm like,
that's a PK thing too.
That's what I'm
That
saying.
is a-
So
that is a PK
all that
stereotype,
stuff
too.
threw me off. And then when you come home, and like you said, you got the people that's on drugs, the people that's in the streets, the people doing all this other stuff, and it's like they get a pass on everything. Then you hard on me, and I'm literally a good student.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hang with nobody like that. I don't have a girlfriend, anything like that. And it's like you hard on me than you are any of these other people. And it's like you're a street minister, so I get it. You in the streets, but I'm not.
Right.
So for you to
Right.
treat me like I'm out in the streets, I mean like put knuckles up like we in the streets, bro, I don't even know how to fight yet. So it's like, what we doing? You know what I mean? Then it's like, okay, you put me in Kung Fu, so you can fight with me? Like, you know?
So
It's
why
like I
would
never.
that be the case though? Now that you're saying that, like, why would that?
To this day, that's one thing. Like, you know, and I talk to Dad a lot. You know, the worst time is that I got in an accident. Like I said, car accident is one of those things where you found out the love was
got in
different.
one, too.
The love was
Yeah.
different. Somebody else they praying you this and that, all this, then you know we can't do nothing. You know, we not a surgeon, all this other stuff. Man, I'm not a lot of things. But when I crashed that car, I'm your son.
Right.
And you come at me with, I mean, the police officer, like, I'm just glad you okay. You come over there, I'm ready to go with the police officer. I don't even want to go home.
I rolled up the window and moved the car.
So I got in a real bad car accident in 2003, totaled my car. The back wheel was in front of the front bumper.
Wow.
And when I say that, and then people, I mean, I literally, we left the classics. We went to go see Chuck Brown. Mark was supposed to be my designated driver. Of course, my first cousin, supposed to be my best friend, is the first one to turn on me. So he go and tell everybody it's his birthday in the club, get all these free drinks. So he's passed out. I got to drive him home. Drop him off. Then the other guy say, look, I can't get home. He said, well, that ain't my problem. I live 2 blocks away. I drop everybody off. He said, make 2 lefts and a right. I made 2 lefts and drove straight in between 3 flagpoles, past the stop sign, over the curb, and stopped a couple feet from the woods. I get home. I had to hitch a ride, get home. First thing I do is say, Daddy, I got in an accident. He get up, start yelling and screaming at me. I'm like, this is crazy. And so at that time, like I said, I was intoxicated. I'm like, all right, cool. We gonna do this? Let's do it. We go all in, we yelling and screaming at each other. And I told him all the things I felt like. You was there physically, but you were never there for me. You know, why we're at this point now is because of the things that you didn't do as a father. You know, all you did was beat me down. And I went to the military, and like James says, like, did away from Daddy. I mean, that's a small part of it. I honestly just wanted to get out the hood. I didn't want to be like what other guy. I didn't want to end up dead. I wanted to do something with my life, and I felt like that was the best chance I had. Once I gave up on my college dream, what was I going to do? You know, me and Mom just talked about it last week, and I said, you know, when I came to you about that, she was like, well, I told you was going to do something. And so I signed him to the military before I even got to 12th grade. And so when we talked about it, you know, it's not like we had communication. We could talk to me like that. You know, he yelled and screamed. I yelled and screamed. Then he walked out, just got in the car and drove off. So Mom come out the room. Why you talk to your father like that? You know that he was always a provider. I said, Mom, stop. You sat by and watched this. You know, so for me, it was kind of like I took the brunt of the abuse. And a lot of it, I felt like, and you know, James, that's one thing with James, I always felt like, I don't want you to do this to my little brother. So I'm going to stay out in the streets. I'm not going to take James with me. I'm going to be on the streets. Anna be like, if you run away, I'm coming with you. You can't do that. I'm taking the heat off of y'all. I'm taking the heat. I'm getting all the beans. I'm staying out the club. I'm taking all the heat off of y'all so y'all don't got to deal with it. But in doing that, I still was looking at it like, I'm taking the heat. And that drug dealer right there that you got in the house, that guy shooting, stabbing people, that murderer, that's your godson, that guy that was living in our room on crack and stole money out my drawer. But then you got all that anger for me. So I'm just like, you know, that for me was the biggest thing, that where I was oblivious to a lot of other things. Finding out stuff that happened in church that y'all might have known, I just wanted to keep him off of me and keep him off of y'all. So I didn't even know a lot of that stuff. This person is that person's father. I didn't know none of that. Now that I'm older and people from the church come to me and tell me things, like, my man, we thought you was going to be a preacher. Turns out the reason they never hung around me, cursed around me, listened to certain music around me, because we thought you was going to be the next one. And I'm like, that's crazy. Because when y'all see me that way, my father don't even see me that way.
Right.
He think I'm one of y'all.
Right.
And y'all won't even hang with me or speak to me because you think that I'm one of him.
Outcast is definitely one of the things. Outcast is definitely one of the
Definitely.
things for PK because you don't fit it on this side and you don't fit it on this side. And yeah, and I think that definitely goes to what you're saying, why there's a stereotype from what he's saying, like the way that sometimes we get treated
Right.
makes you act out, makes you want to do these things. Because look, if I'm going to get in trouble anyway,
Right.
and that was y'all's mentality. You used to
That
say
was
it
my
all the
mind.
time.
That was my
That's what
mind.
I used to say all the time. And I'd be like, no, y'all
Yeah,
don't. They,
no.
Look,
To
we
this-
did not get along. Because
to
they
that-
were like, why don't you do the same stuff? And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't want to get, you're going to get it anyway. So
Right.
Yeah. To this day, that was one thing. Like, I mean, and it's horrible. 30 years later, you got the same friends, and you know they bring up stories from back then, and just like, yeah, man, remember that time we was at the club and you locked the keys in the car, and we was like, call your mother, and he's like, nah, let's go in the club first and call her after. And Lon and Joyce at 2:00 in the morning had to drive to let us back in, and the question is, why didn't you call us before the for what? So I can get in trouble?
Right.
Let's have fun with Junkyard, then I'm gonna call you. And you know, that just became my thing where everybody's like, you always be like that. It's like partying and worry about it later. I'm like, because if you're gonna get it anyway from somebody that everybody else sees as this perfect guy, this guy that, oh, I wish he was, you know, my father and this and that. You ain't gonna win that war, no.
that
way.
always
So,
used to blow my mind. People used to come up to me all the time. People that weren't even in our church and stuff, and they would just be like, "Oh, your dad's so great," and your dad's, and I'm like, "Why are you like?" When I got older, I'd be like, "Why are you saying that? Like, why do you think he's great? Like, what's the, you know?" And oh no, he's just so friendly. He's so nice all the time. He's always like smiling, and he's always, and I'm just like, okay.
I can say that now. I say that now, like as I got older, and it's sad that it took for the church to go down. But that's when I saw that side of him. That's when he started being my biggest supporter. You know,
I
when
feel
he
like
started
that's
cheering
age,
me
though.
on.
I
That
feel
may
like
be
that's
age
age,
too.
yeah.
But I know, like when I was in the military, and this is crazy, y'all. This is crazy. I'm 3,000 miles away. Now, first of all, when I was in Japan, they called because Mom called somebody and they was like, "Don't let us ever hear about you not calling your mother again." I said, "I just moved to Japan."
She did that when I went to college.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. But when I started getting in trouble in the Marine Corps, I guess I got in trouble so many times, they just was like, man, we don't know what to do. The colonel told me to come into his office. I came in the office. He said, I stand at attention. Yes, sir. He's like, Max, sit down. You don't act like a Marine. Just sit down. Stop with all the formality. I sit down. He's like, what's wrong with you? I know what you mean. He's like, you must be unhappy. Something going on. I'm like, nah, I'm just trying to live. He said, you know I talked to your father.
Oh my goodness.
I said, what? He told me he was disappointed in you.
In the military.
In the military, they call that.
Are you serious?
Now, Granddaddy also got a call at that time. Now, Granddaddy told me to just drop out and he would take care of me if I came home. Daddy told me to stay in there. So they actually really
think I
talked to
remember
both
that.
of these
Yeah,
guys.
I think I remember.
Now, for me as a Marine, I'm thinking this is crazy. Nobody would ever do that. But I actually talked to Granddaddy. They actually contacted them. So Granddaddy, before he passed, asked me to tell him everything that happened. He told me, you know, who he spoke to and what happened, how I ended up, they dropped all my court cases and let me go free. With Daddy, it was years later, and I'm like, yeah, you know, the thing that hurt me the most is when that colonel told me you said you were disappointed in me. And he was like, I would never say that. He said, he told me what was going on, and my response to him was, he a Marine. I ain't got nothing to do with that. He said, but
That sounds more believable.
Yeah, he's like, the proudest moment for me was the day you graduated Marine Corps boot camp. And I'm like, bro, you know how many years ago that was? You could have told me that years ago. Would have saved both of us a lot of heartache. You know, it don't make no sense. I was 18, bro.
Right.
Like, you literally could have stopped a lot of the frustration in my life if you'd have told me then. You know, and that was one of the things where after the car accident, where he started talking to me more and, like, relating to me more and explaining things to me. And that's kind of at the point when I was like, man, maybe I understand what y'all was saying. I never got it prior to that. After the car accident is when he finally started talking to me, and then after I got married and things started going bad, and then, you know, once Maynard was gone and the divorce, that's when he started really talking to me. I said, okay, now I see, but you was treating them like that in the 80s and the 90s. I didn't see a time in my 20s and 30s when I'm like, oh, this guy actually is there for me. This guy actually listens to me. This guy actually got my back. And that's the hardest part for me, is that it took that long for me to actually realize what everybody was saying, because I didn't get it.
And at the
Right.
same time, but the reason why is what's the unfortunate thing so often, and it's just that how people allow other people to make them something that maybe they're not.
Right.
So back to that, you're supposed to be this and your kids are supposed to look like that.
Right.
So like Mel said, you're on, so we got to be on too.
Right.
So when we're not on because we're human or for whatever reason, now it's trouble. I was simply good at being on because I'm like, I didn't want trouble. I want to go in my room, play video games.
Right.
So tell me what I got to do for me to play video games and you to leave me alone.
Right.
That was my thing. That's all I want, was to be in my own world, for you to leave my world alone.
Mm-hmm.
It was toys, then it was video games, and leave my world alone. So, okay, when I flip this switch, you go like that. Oh, you got it. So I knew how to play the game. But yeah, that's the thing that I think is just so unfortunate for the preacher, is that it's so often not even God you're trying to impress.
No.
And this is the thing I would really like people to understand and to be cautioned about, is that it shouldn't be about people and what they think.
Right.
Right.
If my kids do this, like, my kids were younger, my thing was they'll never be on social media. Please, my oldest, they're all on social media. And I love it. I love that they're free, and they don't, like, they follow me on social media. They're not hiding, who they are. And it's like, I love that, because I had to laugh. I'm like, imagine if there was social media when we were kids. You know what I mean? It's like the drama and trauma that would have created.
Right.
But I'm just like, I like that they don't have to lie to me. Now, your kids might hide something from you, maybe, but it's like, but they don't have to.
Right. Right.
And I love, and that's kind of one thing I would ask y'all too, is, did anything good come from being a preacher's kid? And I'll go first, because that's kind of, because I already said it.
Yeah.
It's like, I learned a lot about how to raise kids and to be an example and to not allow other people to infiltrate, even when you do have a certain image that you're supposed, and because you don't feel always like it, like being that guy. But I learned how not to take it out, on them. And how to, another thing I learned, how to separate the people from the God, and the religion, which is, we definitely got to do a religion topic. We got to do a religion topic. But how to separate the religion from the God, from the people, because it can be hard to separate all these things. But I learned a lot, I learned a lot. I had a lot of resources because the house was full of Bibles. And so, I just would read stuff when I got to a certain point where I wanted to know. It's almost like Mel said, how it got to a point where she wanted to read and know stuff herself.
Right.
Well, I did too, because I'm like, all right, these people aren't real, so God, are you?
Right.
And I just started eating books. I just started eating materials.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I came to my own conclusion, which was strong. I'm glad those materials were there.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm glad we had access to all these materials. I learned a lot about raising children. I don't think vicariously is the right word, but not because of what I saw, but what I didn't see.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because of what I didn't
More
see.
so what not to do than what to
Yes,
do.
yeah, that's what I'm
Right,
trying to
yeah.
say. More so what not to do, and how to have a good relationship, and not discourage your kids.
Right.
Because we learned some bad habits.
Yeah, we did.
We learned how to be violent,
Yes.
if we're honest.
Yeah.
Especially me and you.
Yeah.
We're good at being violent. That's what Mom told me one day, because I was joking. I was like, Mom, you think I got a bad temper? She said, yeah. She said, you just control it well. And I'm like, you might be right. You know what I mean? But it's like, we learned that. We learned how to be mad, and we learned how to, go like that. Be controlling, and we learned all that stuff. But I also learned, I remember what it felt like.
Right.
You know what I mean? I remember what it felt like when it was a big deal to finally see that short dude in the church clothes at one of your events, because he wasn't never there.
Oh,
And, you know, and so
right,
I finally,
yeah.
so it's like, as much as it's possible, when my sons play football, play basketball, when my daughters do whatever they want to do, how important it was to forget the world. I got you.
Right,
I'm
right.
there. You guys want to draw, I'm your number one fan. You want to write,
That's a
I'm
big
your
thing.
number one
That's a
fan.
big
You want to,
thing.
sometimes I don't want to play with my kids, but I remember, Dad, love you, Dad. I don't remember Dad ever playing with me like I wanted to play.
Right. Right.
So my kids, that JB, little boy, want to come up and, throw this little squishy football. I just got off work. Yes. We're going to throw this squishy football. We're going to do all this stuff because those are the memories I don't have. That's what I tell my kids. I'm like, I don't have those memories of my dad. I just don't have those memories.
I have those memories, and they got violent.
Yeah, we started out with that, but also I think we had a buffer.
So you must have been tired by the time I came around.
Yeah, I mean, like, for sure. But I think that we had a buffer of other family at the time as well. So
But there was also stuff going on too. Sorry to cut you off with him and his dad that we didn't know about.
Yeah, that's why I
I
said.
still don't know.
That's why I say. That's why I say. But it was different. It was like 1 and 2.
Yeah, so that's another preacher kid because he's a preacher kid too.
Right.
The issues that he had with his own dad, like we never knew that. We thought they were, you know,
Seemed happy.
Yeah. But when you get older, you know, then people share more stuff more. So he felt that he disappointed Granddaddy by not going into the military.
Oh, okay.
And Granddaddy saw him as soft because of that.
Well, the thing is, he signed up, and he was the only boy at the time.
Right.
There was a thing about that.
Yeah, being
You know,
honest,
and also
yeah.
because he was part-time student at Howard, so it was things about not going in.
Yeah.
He signed up for selective service. He didn't get drafted.
But
it
the
doesn't make you
expectation,
soft.
yeah.
And the thing is that, if truth be told, Granddaddy only went because he couldn't do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So he went in, and then after he was in, he got out, didn't work, and went back in.
Yeah.
Who spends 30 years in 3 wars or whatever that has other stuff going on?
Yeah.
Right.
He did all that, and he was an intelligent man, but he did all of that, and then went straight from that to the church or whatever. It wasn't many things he excelled at.
Yeah, but
So,
then also
you know-
with the ministry, I think he started out a lot how you did, but he just didn't keep it up.
Yep.
He questioned those things that you questioned,
Daddy.
Daddy.
He spoke about
questioned
that
those
numerous
things that you questioned. He questioned. He felt the same way that you felt about the hypocrisy and all that other kind of stuff, but he just didn't.
You know, the funny
Push
thing
through
about
with it.
the funny thing about that is how, like, everybody, but people were upset about my relationship with Granddad. People, I don't care what they think. But the thing I thought was interesting, I know, Chad, I told you this, but like, Granddad asked me to come down there, which I hate going to Upper Marlboro. Like I said, to us, we grew up in Suitland. Upper Marlboro is the country. We didn't grow up in the country. They grew up in the country.
Right.
So I hated going to Upper Marlboro. It was a long drive from rural PG County. You know what I mean? So it's a
I
long
just made
drive.
that trip Sunday. I was like, man, I missed the exit area.
That is not real PG County. You know what I mean? It's like, so going there. So I went out there because he asked me to, and he talked to me. And that's, even Granddad said that. He said, now he wanted me to do things. He was used to getting his way.
Right.
And I just wasn't that guy. So his thing was, the end was, he said, but I want you to get back in the ministry, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. But what he told me was, how he said, I'm proud of you, because he's like, you're not wrong in this stuff that you're saying or whatever. So he said, I'm proud of you for making your own choice. You see, this whole conversation he went through, but then he said, but you need to get back in it. And I guess I was supposed to say, yes, sir. And I'm like, I'm not that guy.
Right.
I never saw him like that.
Right.
Because, like I said, we left
left
the church. So it's
yeah.
like, I never saw him. He was Granddad. I never saw that guy who these people respect.
Right.
And plus, since Dad was there providing,
Right.
it's like, I ain't need anything
Right.
from him. So, I mean, it's
And
like, I never.
Granddad talked to me about that after he talked to you,
Okay.
and he was like, you know, I'm proud of your brother and this and that. He was like, I wanted to give him. Remember I told you that he wanted to give you the sermons?
No, I
all these
remember that.
sermons. Yeah, so he was at first.
Nah, I'm free. I write my own material.
he had showed me. You know, I don't care. He showing me the blueprint. You know what I mean? So if I preached on this Saturday here, I use this one. I want to give it to your brother, and I'm like, then talk to him. Like, I honestly like. But he's like, yeah, you know, I'm proud of him. But I think that, you know, if he took this little. Man, okay, you know, I mean, I'm like, I just, but yeah, he did say he was proud of you.
He
You know
got
what I
what he
mean?
wanted, and so Daddy basically acquiesced or did what he wanted, and so that was his internal struggle, which is why when he came home, we got to look and see which kind of mood.
But
he's in, because he was struggling
even
with
when
that.
we found out, I believe this was 2018 or whatever, and you know, just because cousins are cousins and they loudmouth and they just don't know when to just say, hey, maybe this ain't my place, you know. End up yelling out, well, you know, at least I ain't never leave my family, this and that. We like, what you talking about? And I called y'all immediately. Hey, y'all ever heard this before? And we asked Mom, what you talking about leaving his family? You know, then we found out Daddy had been married before. And it was an arranged marriage between the the chairman of the deacon board and granddaddy to marry off their kids.
Crazy.
That's insane. I'm like, what is this, the mafia? You know what I mean? Like, and that's the way granddaddy got treated. I remember when the whole thing happened with the one cousin where, you know, we all came together like, oh, we gonna go get this guy because, you know, something happened to, you know, and he literally sits in the room like a mafia dog. Holds the whole family together, you know? And so, you know, gets mad, walks out the house. Granddaddy say, man, I want y'all to make a note. That boy disrespect me. I said, what's the Don over here? Like, you know, but it was just that type of, you know, that type of influence and the way he carried himself.
It was exactly like that.
And Daddy's like the second in command. You know, he's playing Michael Corleone over here. Hey, Chet, you need to, hold on, Pop. Like, what y'all doing?
It's funny you say that because I remember we went out to eat one time. Now, I'm on the other side of the mafia family. I'm on the front. You know, we making olive oil. You know, on this side. So I do remember going out to restaurants. And it is like that. You know, they all got on church clothes and trench coats in the summertime. And you know what I mean? You know, everything got to be a certain way. And, you know, the dishes got to be like this. Who's out to get you?
Right.
And I remember
On
that.
white plate.
Great, on white plates.
And it's like, I remember that because, like I said, I was never, you know, into that. Like, I like being comfortable. I always did. I wore suits for a while. But I just remember going into the place and people taking hats and coats, and I'm like, what in the world is going on?
Crazy.
What's happening right now?
That whole the church thing, what it became, and if you think about it, if you go back to like Martin Luther King or whatever, they treated him like he was Jesus himself. And yet we know all the stories of infidelity and all this other stuff like that. And it's like, okay, this became a thing where the ministers in the black community became like
I was about to say, it's black
you know,
culture.
and the thing
Black
is that when
culture.
they found out that these were the worst ones, then it trickled down to us being the worst one. No, I can't help the fact
a
that
good
the
time,
minister
yeah.
over there is sleeping with Mrs. So-and-so and Mr. So-and-so. And I even just read something where they were saying, man, think about how many songs our older ancestors were singing about infidelity at the top of their lungs. Me and Mrs. Jones.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, it was so many of them, and I was like, I didn't even realize. I'm like, everything about infidelity.
Yeah, right.
'Cause that's the life that they saw.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people not in the church, and I say, like, we got to see it also firsthand. We talking about being PK, but Mom's family gave us the other side of that, which kept us honest. Because her brothers were the street ones. You know, they were the people that were more down. So if we went to a cookout with them, it was bed, it was music, people having fun.
Yeah.
I don't even recall seeing the McDonald family dance. But I know when we went to Mom's family, they were always dancing, having fun and everything. So as much as everybody wanted
Pleasant.
See Pleasant. That's what I tell See Pleasant's fine. It's like, I love growing up there. Like this is before you were born, but like, man, we used to be in See Pleasant just in the neighborhood, running up and down the streets by ourselves. I love being in See Pleasant.
Yeah, we
And
weren't PKs on
at
that
all.
side.
On that side
We
of
were
the
just
family
PKs.
at all.
We were
So it's
just-
weird to hold us to that standard when we don't even feel that way.
Right.
We more so partying with the worthies.
So to bring it back to
Kids.
like no positive, like any positive experience for me
Right, sorry.
personally, I don't really feel like I get the what you're saying about the raising your kids and stuff like that, but I don't really feel like I had any positives out of it. When I got the positivity actually was when you became a minister and started doing all the research that you were just talking about, because then I had somewhere, because you know when I would ask Daddy, it was a fight all the time. I would end up crying. It would be like, you know, it ended up being because he didn't want me to ask questions. He didn't want to give me answers to things that didn't make sense. Like, you taught this is what it says, this is what the Sunday school teacher said. That doesn't make sense. Why is it that way? You don't ask any questions. This is what it is. So when you started doing it, that's when I got more into it. And so that was a positive for me. But as far as being a PK, like the only thing I took away from it again was I'm not going to do this to my kids, or I don't want to. But it wasn't a conscious decision like this is not the way to do it. It was more like I'm scarred from this and I don't want to put that on anybody else, so I kind of went the other way. Listen, I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for a while just because I had to, because I sucked everything in. I wasn't allowed to be angry. I wasn't allowed to. I stopped crying when I was like 12, and then I didn't cry again until I got pregnant. I literally just sucked everything in, and then as I got older and started learning more, it started coming out. Like I have trauma from it, and so I something that I had to work through. So now I can see positive things a little bit about it. Like I learned this, okay, this is not what you should do. But back then it was all just anger. Talking about that temper, that anger, anger. It was a lot of anger.
I think a positive for me is just the foundation. I think you guys don't remember the prayer that we used to have before we left the house and the talks that we used to have about the Bible. I think you guys don't remember we used to do that, but we used to
I remember like we had to learn scriptures. She had the little scripture thing, right? Where it had the little
but I'm
cards
saying like
in it.
before we left the house, we would pray together, and then we would have time where we sit and we talked, and we would be able to tell how we feel. Or
Family altar.
Oh, family altar.
Family Walter.
Yeah, stuff like that. Stuff like that, and just the introduction to God, even if what some of the stuff that we were seeing.
I do
was
remember
not-
that, and I remember, like, I really was into it, and I really did enjoy church. I really like being, but I think as I got older and seeing all the other stuff, it just threw that all out the window for me. So I do remember that, and but I actually remember, like, when my kids were little, I did some stuff, but I kind of went away from all of that for my kids. Like, I didn't make them memorize stuff. I didn't make them do, because I was just like, I have too many mixed up feelings about this. So what am I teaching them? Like, what am I going to tell them? As they got older, I got back into it. But I do remember us having.
Yeah, one thing you guys will learn is you watch us. I don't remember nothing.
Mel,
They be talking about stuff, and I just be like, I have no idea. I don't know where I was.
And the thing, if therapists are real with you and you real with them, they'll be like, you blocking off. I tell Mina that all the time. Like, Mina compartmentalizes things to the point where she don't remember anything outside of being 5 to now. She remember going to Disney, but not really. I say, how do you do that? And then I was listening to Mel one day. I'm like, she's compartmentalizing things. She has blocked so many doors that she really does not remember being a kid. She was like, I can't sleep now because I remember you always hold me when I sleep. I'm like, you about to turn 15. You know how big you bigger than me. When was the last time I held you when you were asleep? You're not stepping in the room with me in 8 years.
Yeah.
But that's where she is. And, so that's one of the things, like, I just said that about Mel like a couple weeks ago when she was talking. I was like, Mel compartmentalizes things, and I guess James probably does too. I mean, I don't. And I
get most of my information and remembrances from these two. Like, Chet remembers every date ever, so I remember like.
But because for me, it was such bad times, and I honestly, it's the feeling I got. Like, I'll smell something and be like, I'll hear something, and all those bad feelings come back. I can tell you the exact. That was August 3rd, 2011. Like, I remember.
The crazy part about that is I get the memories too, but they're just bad feelings. I don't remember it. I just something will happen and I'll feel terrible, but I don't.
I remember the exact date,
the
exact date, time, exactly the way I felt at that time. What music was on. Like, I've done it for so long. Like, I can remember the first time like a girl hurt my feelings, and I got up in the top bunk and was playing Mary J. Blige. You know what I mean? Like, I remember everything because those bad feelings. I didn't, and I'll be honest. Until recently, I didn't have good feelings about most things in my life.
Right.
I was always upset. I always felt hurt. I always was depressed. And the thing is, but you just get used to it. That's what I always tell myself. You just get used to it.
So do you think, to bring it all in, do you all think that this is a result of being a PK or just growing up in the church? Like, as adults now, do we still feel like PKs? Do we still, like, is that something that stayed with us and caused a lot of this, or just being in a church, or just being like?
I didn't give my answer with the positive from it. I think it's kind of a little where all of y'all said. With my kids, I'm really just kind of like, I want to be your biggest cheerleader. Like, I mean, I go to all y'all's games, man.
Right, yeah.
Because I'm just like, I didn't have a person that showed up in my game, and the one time he showed up the game, I was suspended because my grade point average was on. I'm up in the standing next to him. First time he ever makes a game, I'm standing next to him at the game. He like, what you doing up here? We went to have that talk lady. He put James with him. We went to have that talk lady pop, so you ain't gonna beat me in front of everybody. But it's like, you know what I mean? The first time he ever came to one of my games,
I don't think he ever came to a dance recital.
And that's what I'm saying.
I don't think so.
Yeah, never went to Suitland for all those dance recitals. But I always felt like I should do that because that wasn't done. And then with Mel, the same thing is like, I feel like I don't really push nothing on my kids like that. I just kind of be like, I understood what it was like to make y'all recite verses, and then for y'all to look around the world and the way you get treated, and try to be that person that's giving those verses, and then you look to the person that's supposed to be over and they ain't living that, and you getting treated this way, and you trying your best to live by these verses, and ain't nobody, the playing field not fair. It ain't even. Ain't nobody treating you that way. You saying I'm living by the Bible, I'm treating people the right way, I'm doing the right thing, I'm praying every day, and this is a big thing for me. I'm praying every day, and my relationship ain't getting better. Matter of fact, now I'm divorced and I lost custody of my kid. But you told me to pray. When it was time to get married, you told me that God wanted me to be married to this woman. I did it. And then when everything went bad, it was pray. And I prayed. And I literally, I just had to file for benefits of the VA. And that was part of it. It's like, I was always taught to pray. Suck it up and pray. And when that doesn't work, what do?
I do remember those.
For me,
I used to think about that
I would
too.
start drinking. So what I told the people in the VA, the drinking and praying didn't work. So at this point, you like, what do I do? You know, so I think
that goes all the way back to the beginning. It was done the wrong way in the beginning.
Right,
You can't
right.
just
Yeah.
pray.
You can't-
it
You can't
away.
just tell somebody right.
Exactly.
And Daddy told me,
Exactly.
I talked to all of y'all about this. Anna got the maddest with me when I talked to her about it. But I got, you know, and I was way behind y'all on this because I was like, and I was just like, whatever, this is where we are, this is who we are, this and that. And then once I lost Mina, I started questioning everything. Yo, bro, you told me to pray. You told me to pray. And it didn't work. You know, and then what they say, well, you know what? No. Give me excuses on the prayers now. You said pray, I pray. Don't tell me, well, you should have prayed this one, you should have done that.
Right, yeah.
Then it became, well, you have to know who you was married in the first. Come on, man. That ain't what you said. You
Right,
said
yeah.
pray about it, man. I remember Derek Mims one time. Shout out to Derek.
Yeah.
We give him a shout out to the whole Mims
We love the Mims. We love the Mims.
Love the Mims
We love
family. So Derek I was like, but Derek, I'd be so upset at her time. He said, that's when you got to pray the most.
Yeah.
I said, yeah. That's deep. I don't know if I'm do that, Derek. You know.
But these are the lessons that we're supposed to learn that people are thinking that we're learning as well.
Exactly.
That's what they.
That's what I was going to say when
Yeah.
you said something about what Mel said, is that my kids are free, like something off what she said. They can ask me anything in the world, and it's like, and I don't care if they say, you know, Jesus was ugly, wasn't right? Jesus stink, dick. Ask me anything, because we couldn't do it. Me and Dad never argued except about Bible stuff because I refused to just accept answers.
Well, he told me that, like, when I went to him, like I said, I might have went to Anna first. I went to Mom first, definitely, because we were at the pool at the time, and she's like, you got to get away from this whole black thing. You understand what Bible wants you to get. You got to, I ain't telling you to stop at your black history. You got to back up a little bit on it. I'm like, I'm just sorry. I thought Malcolm X made more sense than Martin. I'm sorry. You take it how you want to take it, bro. He was with the rifle trying to take his family. Martin was with somebody else's family. I'm just keeping it real. But, you know, it's like I said something to her. I was like, I don't know about this Jesus thing. Then I think I said something to Anna. Then I probably said something to
We briefly talked
Mel.
about something like that.
Then I went to Daddy. See, I had to do it a certain way. I knew Mom was gonna be the most accepted. So by the time I got to Daddy, we was what was that apartments they lived on before they moved up in Kansville or something, whatever.
Kaysville. When they were Kaysville?
When they had that little apartment.
Oh, it's
And
like
we-
Kaysville?
Yeah,
So
they
this
must have
is was not even that long
I'm about
ago.
to say, that ain't even
yeah,
long. Okay.
and so we outside working on my car, and I start talking to him. So after a while, he you know, put the screwdriver down, and he's like, you know, I done been through this with all your siblings. He said, except for Anna. I ain't got to Anna yet. He said, but I deal with this with Mel and James. They had questions. They question you on everything. So it ain't bother.
Really?
He basically was like, it ain't bother. He said, I've been through this before.
Wow.
I already been through this with them. So I'm telling him, like, man, as a man, Daddy, I'm just saying, as a man with children, you telling me that it was a virgin woman giving. Have you ever seen a virgin give birth? I'm just saying, bro, as a dude with kids, bro, I know how kids are made. So I'm just saying, I'm gonna lay it right there. And why does it even matter if he is born of a virgin? I don't care if he a good dude, he good. Why do I care if he born of a virgin? You know, we had this whole, and I'm just like, it's funny because your sister and your brother already did that. And so he went through it with me, and he just was understanding. He didn't say anything. He's like, you know, your relationship with God is personal. And so, you know, all that thing, I was like, that shocked me because I was like, but then he told me it came from y'all.
Like
Right,
that.
that's what I'm saying. It came from y'all.
It definitely wasn't like that.
Yep.
No, I knew not to question them.
That's it. That's what I said. He said Anna the only. He said Anna was the only one that
And
didn't
that's
do it.
because by the time I did it,
protect
I was
myself,
already
though,
an
'cause
adult.
it's like when you don't want, it's just like people say you're celebrities, you don't want to know their personal life.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
I just
okay.
that for me, I know he's human. I never had that problem thinking he was anything other than.
Yeah.
So I know that I'm not gonna want to hear some of his answers to the
yeah,
questions
right,
that I have.
right.
So I didn't ask him, and I think I learned that. Remember that conversation we had with Granddaddy, the infamous what were we at McDonald's? And he was started changing up his philosophies
Hey.
and theories as
Well,
he
if,
got
if,
older.
if God can use a use a goat to speak or something like that, don't get out of
Yeah,
here,
right.
Granddaddy. Stop. You
Oh, I
train,
remember
man.
that.
Where the bullfrogs on Pennsylvania Avenue doing push-ups? All I know.
Inside,
Yeah,
yes.
that's the first time a woman gonna be in that pulpit. So I want to see the bullfrogs out there.
So after that, it was just like, okay, I just have to, like it's personal, right? So I don't need to go to him to ask that because I don't want to have to look at him in that way. You know what I mean? Because I know that it was going to make me feel a different way about him.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, I'm not going to have that conversation because I could see,
I kind of, and I don't know if we had this conversation, but at one point, I was sitting around and I was thinking, I thought we was talking about this, maybe not. I was like, how much of this is because it's all he knew?
Right.
It's all he knew.
Right.
But this is
What did
that's how I
Daddy
feel.
do outside of
Preacher
anything
kid,
else?
yeah.
That's all he knew from the time he was a kid.
Yeah.
He became a minister, 24? Because we're going on 50 years.
Sold some cologne.
Yeah, he sold
He
some
sold cologne.
a little bit,
He
yeah.
was a security guard for a while. Worked at 7-Eleven. Mhm. He fixed people's cars, but other than that, I'm saying, so what if you get to a point? What if you get to a point? Not saying he did. What if you get to a point where you don't even believe it anymore?
Yeah.
That's all you got. You seen the realness. You seen how everybody at the church treated you. You seen the lawsuits you had to go through. You seen all this stuff. You seen everybody turn their back on you. See the finances not coming in, and at the same time, you're very aware of the church that your father ended up spearheading, the pastor that came after that, and the amount of money that they got, and the amount of love they got, and everything like that. And you were on the ground level building it, and they get all the accolades. At some point, I feel like, and maybe I was talking to Mom about this. I feel like you gotta feel some sort of way. You're still human. And so what if you be like, man, I did all this, I was praying this, now man, my family now, and then Daddy, he hears us talk, he gets certain things. I mean, he doesn't feel great about it, but at the end of the day, I gotta sit back and man, I done jeopardized my whole family, all this other stuff. And that's how I feel about cooking. Man, I done got divorced and everything. Let my family go trying to prove to y'all white people that I'm good enough to do this. You know what I mean? And still nothing. I feel like sometimes, what do you do when that's all you got? That's all you ever done. You done almost ruined your whole family over this, and they love you enough to keep it. You know what I mean? And it's like, man.
So
this
this was the first time that I actually realized that our father was also a PK. I don't know why I never realized that before. This is actually the first time that I was thinking, oh, this is passed down.
And that brings it full circle.
I
Why?
literally
Right.
didn't even, when you said it, I was like, oh, yes. Yes, he is also a PK.
Living up to that
This is-
expectation,
yeah.
and I mean, he played it out as well as any PK can be expected to play.
Yeah,
out.
he did everything he was supposed to do.
he was
Yeah.
supposed to do,
Yeah.
and at the
Yeah.
end of it, he doesn't have. I like to use Creflo Dollar just because I love the name, but he never been past the curtain. Creflo Dollar and T.D. Jakes and Joel Austin, he never had that, and I felt like if you're going to talk about people preaching, when it came to his performance, he put on a great show.
Oh, yeah.
He put on a great
Early
show,
on, definitely.
and
Yeah.
putting on a great show for y'all every Sunday. And I'm sitting here with a spray painted black Buick that break
Oh man, yeah.
crazy. I'm putting on a
Gotta
performance
hold
for
the
you.
ceiling up.
Meanwhile,
But I never actually felt like that was a problem for him. Like I always
Because
felt
that was
like
his
he
choice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
That was a
just
choice.
And I feel like he was fine with all of that. But of
that
course,
was
And why
the
take it out on us? That's what I'm-
rebellion against
so
his
so
dad,
what? So
too.
why?
Not
The thing is,
way.
like, at a certain point, always been really down to earth, really people of the streets, and even during COVID, people that couldn't afford this and that, everybody else dying from COVID, he doing everybody's funeral. Always had that part of him. But at the same time, if that's who you are, why are you bringing the anger back home? You're doing what your ministry
Yeah,
is.
that's
You're
true.
doing what you're
That's
supposed
true.
to or whatever. Like, who's making you feel bad about
Okay,
that?
well, let's. I mean, looking at it, how people work. It's not that I'm bringing it home on purpose. It's just that out there, I believe I'm representing God, so I'm not supposed to. Once you put God in front of somebody, that, like I said, somebody will blow themselves up in this whole room because of what they think God told them to do.
Right, yeah.
So in his mind, I'm hiding this from those people for God's sake, but it's there.
Okay.
So it's not that I want to be mad when I get home. I'm just mad when I get home.
Right,
You know, I didn't. It wasn't my plan.
Right.
It's just I'm mad when I come home.
And then
I
you
get
always been a free spirit, like, you know what I'm saying, like you always had this kind of, even if you say you were sad, you were always laughing and smiling and seemed joyful. So it could be
I really
he
get it.
come home mad, right?
Yeah.
And he see this little boy smiling and laughing. You gonna get it.
Well, okay. Well, I. The funny thing is, I have one of those. So the biggest thing with Corey for me is that, you know, I literally get to look at myself, and I always
Yes,
tell people
yeah.
like he's my favorite, and the reason, first of all, he's the little chocolate one out of them. Like, you know, I got all the light bright babies, and then this little one come around, this little brown skin one, and he looked just like me, and he act just like me, and he just, I mean. It's just one of those things where I get to relive and be like, Dad, I get it. Like when I come home from cooking and I'm so upset about all these other chefs, and I'm like, I know that I'm better than them, and then you come home, you're upset, and the first thing he do is like, Daddy, and runs over, and I asked him so many times, now he just says it automatically. Give me a hug and says, I had a good day. All right, bro, because how was your day? He don't even wait for me no more. Hey, I had a good day. Then back up to play his video game. That's it. He like James. He done done it. He done stayed out the way. He good. He good until like 10 o'clock at night. He is good. He did what he need to do to keep me out of his head. You know, and it's just like, you look at that, and I'm like, man, like, I get the feeling of that, but once you see that little boy jumping around all excited, why you want to break?
I don't think it's
break
that. I think it's the non-compliance, because when you're dealing with people in the world and you're thinking, all you got to do to get off drugs is stop taking drugs. So then when you come home, that's the attitude you want. But I got power over these people.
Right.
So I can say, just stop. If anything negative I inherited, it's that people frustrate me. So when I get home, it's like, y'all better not. Like, obviously put the square thing in the square thing.
A little bit of that. I definitely did.
My biggest thing I tell the kids all the time, you know I don't like that.
You got-
You know I don't like that. Like, I don't care what. So 3 1 30 mile. You know I don't like that.
So
You know
I think he has some of that. I'm grateful that my oldest 2 kids and 3, 4, well, 8 and 2. Well, definitely my oldest one she's a card puller.
Okay.
So it's like I come home feeling however I want to feel, and our leg gonna be like. It's like, and it
What you
wasn't
feeling?
exactly. And it could be something I say, the Taz or whatever. I like. You're right. You know what I mean? And I thank God for that, because that
Right.
she can do that, and she knows she can do that. I haven't, obviously Ala's 18, moved out, but it's like I haven't. The last time I had to put hands on Ale, I gave her a knuckle pluck in the head because she was 12. And Taz told her something, and Ale kind of brushed her off. So when she walked in the door, I said, "Don't do that with your mother." That was the last time and now my daughters have always been. That'd be a good conversation for us to have. Our sons or daughters easier, because my girls are so easy. My girls don't want.
conversation.
Yeah, that's a good conversation. We'll save it. But it's like I'm grateful I have that. Where it's like, because they do help with the younger ones, because stuff they might have got in trouble for,
Right.
they laugh at me. You know what I mean? If somebody does something, of course, Bones, you know, if he can't make you laugh, you just don't want to laugh. So somebody does something that they're not supposed to do, and he just smiles. So if I look at him, it's just over. It's like I'm not even mad anymore, because as soon as I look at him, he just smiles. He's just ready for it. And it's like, I thank God for that, and that, again, I'm not going to say I learned that from him, but it's just being able to use it and say, man, no matter how crazy the world is, I love coming home.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
there's peace here, because somebody wants to play, somebody's ready to laugh, somebody ready to say something silly, you know, because I definitely had those look what I can do kids, you know what I mean? So it's like, exactly, so it's like you love that, and it's like, it's I guess I could say I'm sad that he was never able to get that when we were young.
When we were young.
When we were young,
Yeah.
he was never able to just come home and say, I love y'all. You know what I mean? Yes, I'm out of that. No, it was just, I hate this. But here's the other thing. But God, whole talk about God called me to do this. 'Cause
Right, yeah.
No, we did.
Yeah. And
No,
a lot of
yeah.
times that's not the case.
No.
Most of the time,
Most-
that's not
and here's the
case.
thing, in the Bible's defense, it doesn't have to be. Because Paul said, if any man desires
Right.
to be a bishop, that's a good thing.
Right.
You want to. So all these
Yeah,
people,
right.
God called me. No, he didn't say
Yeah.
that.
Right.
If
Like you were
anybody
forced into
yeah,
it.
no.
Right,
He
yeah,
says, if
yeah.
anybody wants this, good job.
Right.
But it's hard.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Paul wrote in his letter to Timothy. If anybody wants it, don't discourage him, Tim, but tell him it's tough. He's not say, oh, they were called, so you got no choice.
Right.
But and that's one of the things me and Dad would fight about. And I waited till I was an adult to fight back, so he wasn't going to do anything to me because he couldn't at that point. But that was one of the things we would fight about. I'm like, you weren't called to do this. No, I know some people weren't. No. You weren't called to do this. You chose to do this for whatever reason, but almost everybody these days chooses
Yeah.
to do this. You just choose to do it. It's the easy job.
Yeah.
I'll fight any preacher off that. Stop lying.
Right.
Where the camera at? You preach, you got an easy job. Just being real about it. It is not a tough job. I've been there. It is not hard. It's as easy as you want it to be.
Right.
But yeah.
All right. Well,
That's great. That's great.
who's closing it out?
So so the 6018, check us out. We got so much stuff to talk about. Mel, Chet, Anna, James. We'll see you in the next one. We'll see you then.
All right.
The black urge to I held my hand down. I'm not going to do it. That's what I wanted to do. So how long was that? How long did we?
Right, how
Crazy
long was that?
long.
Yeah.
But
No
I think
way.
about it.
An hour and something.
Okay, that's
No
not
way.
bad.
I felt like 3.
But I think you really cut it down though.
Hour and 25 minutes.
That's